Recording has started.
Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. This is the Tuesday night opportunity presentation call. We're so glad you could join us. As always, we know you have other things that you could be doing, so we're just honored that you join us. Again, the name of the company is Jerky Direct. You know, as you look at an opportunity, whatever that business opportunity is, there are some basic questions that you should ask yourself. Question number one, of course, is what is it? Question number two, what do they want me to do? Number three, what's in it for me? And then, of course, number four, who is going to help me? Let's talk, if we could. I'd like to start out with some statistics from the United States government. These come from the United States Bureau of Labor. They say that out of 100 people that start working at age 25, by the time they're 65 years old and ready to retire 40 years later, only 1% are wealthy. 4% have enough money to retire. That's only 5% that after 40 years of work, are ready to retire. 3% are still working because they simply can't afford to quit. 63%, the vast majority of us in the United States today, when we're ready to retire, are dependent on Social Security, family, friends, or charity. You know, I'm 48 years old, and I'm not quite sure Social Security is going to be there for me when I'm ready for it. The remaining 29%, if you added that up, are dead. Basically, what that means is that after 40 years of work at age 65, 95% of the population in the United States are either dead or dead broke. You know, when you started working at age 20, 25 years old, did you anticipate after working for 40 years that you would be dependent on Social Security, family, friends, or charity? Or did you anticipate to be one of the 5% that are actually ready to retire? You see, we live in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and yet the vast majority of us, after working our whole lives, cannot afford to retire. Some other statistics that came out recently say that 38% of all jobs in the United States do not pay a livable wage for a single adult. 79%, nearly 4 out of 5 jobs in the United States today do not pay a livable wage for a single adult with 2 children. You know, it's almost unbelievable. You have to go out and try to find other ways to make a living. Some of you are fortunate enough to be able to have 2-income families. Frankly, I'm not sure whether that's fortunate or unfortunate, but it's almost the only way to make ends meet these days. You know, we go out and we work every day in our workaday world and in our job. Those of you that know me know what I know about or what I think about a job. It's a 3-letter word. JOB stands for just over broke, and really that's the way it happens for most people today. You know, my children's generation is the first generation since the Civil War, literally since the 1860s, to experience a lower standard of living than we did, than their parents did. You know, my parents and your parents, I'm sure, worked very, very hard. We worked hard to try to make things better for our children. They worked hard to make things better for their children, and they had it, life easier than what they had. But unfortunately for today's generation, again, my children's generation can't say the same thing. Though I think we work just as hard, the state of the economy makes it much, much more difficult. So my children's generation will experience, again, that lower standard of living than we did. Credit card debt is at an all-time high at over $12,000 per adult. That's per adult. You know, if there are 2 adults in your household, that means that you'll probably have somewhere around $24,000 in credit card debt if you are just average. And that debt is at between 18 and 24% interest. I just don't know how you can pay that kind of a debt off. Between 1995 and 2005, personal income was up by 11%. The flip side of that coin, however, is that personal spending was up by 30%, and personal debt was up by 80%. It just seems to me like we're going in the wrong direction. Debt has become a national obsession. It's what we do for fun, it seems, these days. Well, these are shocking statistics. You know, I just can't get over those because we live in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and yet I believe that we're headed in the wrong direction. Albert Einstein one time said that the significant problems we face today cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created those problems. And that's really true. If you are happy with where you are in your life, congratulations, you're in a minority, but the vast majority of us are not happy with that. And so we need to look at the way we make decisions. We need to make a quantum shift in the way we look at things and in our decision-making process. Thomas Edison, arguably one of the greatest inventors of our time, said that the very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. You see, it just doesn't happen. I believe that we are the sum total of the decisions that we make in our lives up to this point. If you're happy with where you are in your life, congratulations. But again, most of us are not, but we are where we are because of those decisions. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. And if you don't like what you've been getting, you got to start doing something different. So I've got to ask you, are you ready to make a change? In fact, let me ask you this question, each and every one of you individually. Are you ready to break this cycle of poverty that we as a society, that we individually have gotten ourselves into? Well, if you are, congratulations. You're in the right place at the right time, finally, and I believe with the right company. Let me tell you just a little bit about our company, if we could. Our founder's name is Roger Ball. Now, Roger Ball founded a company in 1969 called King Bee Jerky. Many of you may be familiar with that product. It was at one time the third largest producer of jerky in the world. Very, very successful in the meat snacks industry. Well, because of his success in that business, Roger was able to start another business. He co-founded a company that many of you may have heard of called Melaleuca. Melaleuca is a tremendously successful company with over $670 million in sales last year. Very, very successful network marketing company. Well, Roger's got his hands in well over 100 companies as well. But the reason that I mention these two specifically is because I want you to understand that, first of all, we have a very rich history with over 36 years in the meat snacks industry. We know what we're doing there. He also has over 22 years experience in the network marketing industry. And you see, all that Roger did was to take all of the negatives in these two industries that he loves so much, throw them out, combine everything that was positive into one company, and that one company is Jerky Direct. Now, Jerky Direct got its start in June of 2004. It was initially introduced into the Roger Ball family of companies and their employees. It grew, and then in February of 2005, just over a year ago right now, we had a national launch. Since that time, we've grown at the rate of between 20 and 30% each and every month. I mean, it's absolutely unheard of for a company like ours. We're doing extremely well. We currently have distributors in all 50 states in the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii. You know, Roger continually talks about breaking new ground, doing things that have never been done. We have a $12 program. We'll talk more about that in just a minute, and that's something that has never, ever been done before. But what specifically is it that Jerky Direct is doing? Well, basically, we're offering an opportunity for our distributors to build an additional income with their own home-based business. For the past 20 years, I've given literally hundreds of lectures and presentations in which I've preached the benefits. In fact, I believe it's a necessity of owning your own business. And the reason that it's so important that you own your own business is, in a word, taxes. You get so many tax advantages that it's absolutely unbelievable. Now, I'm not a tax accountant. I'm not a financial advisor. But I will beg with you, I'll almost plead with you to go to your accountant and talk to them about the tax deductions that you become eligible for as an owner of a home-based business. But I think one of the most important things that we do here at Jerky Direct, and it is for me one of the most rewarding personally, is that we help the average person break that cycle of poverty that we just talked about. Now, here at Jerky Direct, we subscribe to the KISS philosophy of marketing. That's keep it super simple. You know, most direct sales companies have complicated payouts. They've got bylaws that are designed to make it difficult, if not impossible, to live by. They're almost designed to confuse you, it seems. But with Jerky Direct, it's very, very simple. In just a few minutes, I'm going to describe the program completely to you. And by the time I'm done, you should be able to understand it without any questions. But if you do have questions, at the end, we're going to open it up to answer those questions. It's a very, very simple program. We also have no upfront costs or investments to start your own business. You know, the perception in America today is that starting your own business is very, very expensive. What with rent, lease, purchase, inventory, employees, all of the things that go along with that. Well, with Jerky Direct, we have no upfront costs that are normally associated with businesses of any kind. There are no investments in inventory. There are no startup fees. There are no enrollment fees. There are no ongoing fees that are very, very difficult. We'll talk more about that here in just a minute as well. Now, let me tell you, if I could, just a little bit about the jerky industry. It's grown at a dramatic rate over this past decade. In fact, from 1994 through 2004, these are the latest statistics that we have, showed an increase in this industry of over 321%. It's a huge increase in a 10-year period of time for any industry. In fact, at the end of 2004, it showed a $2.7 billion in annual sales. So it's a huge market. Interestingly enough, 4 out of 10 households purchase jerky on a regular basis, and of those, 1/3 purchase it not only for themselves, but for someone else as well. So we have tremendous growth potential in this business. Something that's interesting is that in the past, the largest market share has belonged to the 18 to 35-year-old males. However, during this past decade, the largest growth during that time belonged to the women and teenagers. And I think the reason that we're seeing some of the growth in these industries or in this area is some of the same reasons that are making the market get bigger and bigger, some of the market drivers. They are, for example, the low-carbohydrate diets, the Atkins diet, the South Beach diet. These are diets that promote a high-protein, low-fat, low-carbohydrate lifestyle. I challenge each and every one of you to walk up and down a grocery store or a convenience store snack aisle and look at the different things that are available to our kids today, the snacks that they can eat. You see all kinds of sugar. You see all kinds of things, products that just aren't good for you. In fact, pick one of them up and look at the ingredients. Probably about half of them in there you can't even pronounce the ingredients. But as you walk up and down those aisles and you look at the things, can you think of a better snack, one that's higher in energy, higher in protein, lower in fat, and lower in carbohydrates than a meat snack, than a stick of jerky? I mean, there's nothing better for you. Another big thing that drives the market is product innovation, and it's one of the very, very important things that we do here at Jerky Direct as well. Now, I want to tell you a little bit of history in the distribution of jerky over the decades, past many, many years now. There's always been a producer, someone that manufactures the jerky. They mark it up from their costs, and they sell it to a broker. Brokers mark it up about 5%, and they sell it to a distributor. Distributors then mark it up between 25 and 30% and sell it to a retailer. Retailers then mark it up between 30 and 40%, and they sell it in their convenience stores to you and me. We walk into a convenience store, we have the opportunity to buy a bag of jerky for $6, $7, $8. But what we don't understand, we buy that jerky, but what we don't understand most of the time is the tremendous markup that's involved. In most cases, anywhere from 75% to 125% markup. Well, with Jerky Direct, we simply eliminate all of those middlemen and put all of that middle money in your pockets, the pockets of our distributors. I get a kick out of people that tell me they don't like network or multi-level marketing. I don't know if you know this or not, but the vast majority, almost everything that you buy is sold through a multi-tiered or multi-leveled marketing system. For example, let's say you needed to go buy a couch for your living room. When you go purchase that couch, there is first of all a producer, someone that manufactures the couch. They then sell that to a distributor who marks it up and sells it to a wholesaler who marks it up again and sells it to a retailer who once again marks it up and sells it to you and me. All of the people along this way are making money. And again, with Jerky Direct, all we do is just simply eliminate all of the middlemen all along the way and put all of that money in your pockets. Well, with Jerky Direct, let's talk just for a minute about what is your commitment if you choose to become involved with Jerky Direct. Are you ready for this? I'm about to tell you your entire commitment. This is everything that you agree to do with Jerky Direct. You simply commit to sell yourself or someone else up to a half a pound of all natural or organic jerky for $12 per month delivered to your door.